اوكي. احنا النهارده هنغير اللايف ستريم، هيبقى على اليوتيوب مش على الفيسبوك. يعني في ناس طلبت الحقيقه ان هو يبقى على اليوتيوب وبعد كده نشيرت على الفيسبوك، فهتبقى فرصه ان احنا يعني عدد اكبر يشوفه وتبقى احنا النهارده هنغير اللايف ستريم، هيبقى على اليوتيوب مش على الفيسبوك. يعني في ناس طلبت الحقيقه ان هو يبقى على اليوتيوب وبعد كده نشيرت على الفيسبوك، فهتبقى فرصه ان احنا يعني عدد اكبر يشوفه وتبقى احنا النهارده هنغير اللايف ستريم، هيبقى على اليوتيوب مش على الفيسبوك. بس تمام كده. alright، كده قفلنا السماعة عشان ما تعملش ايكو. alright، فاضل لنا حلقتين في موضوع الهيستوري اوف ايثيزم، وبعد كده ان شاء الله هيبقى في عندنا موضوع تاني. بس الحقيقة انا كنت عايز انبه على كام حاجة. احنا امبارح خدنا قرار في المجلس ان احنا ان شاء الله بمعونة ربنا هنبتدي نعمل كونستراكشن في الكنيسة، على اساس احنا الموضوع ده كنا عايزين نعمله من قبل ما موضوع الكورونا، لكن الحقيقة جت موضوع الكورونا أجلت الحكاية. لكن امبارح خدنا قرار ان احنا ان شاء الله هنجو ahead and do this. الموضوع الكونستراكشن ده هيبقى فيه تقريبا ازدياد مساحة الكنيسة بحوالي 40%، تغيير كل الحمامات الموجودة، يعني طبعا حالها رديء جدا وقديمة، وتوسيع حتة المعمودية وهنطلع بيها بره الكنيسة بحيث ان هيتشال الجزء الازاز اللي موجود وهيبقى فيه مساحة اكبر، عشان دي هتبقى الكراي روم بعدها. من ضمن طبعا اعمال التغيير هيكون في تغيير لشبكة الكهرباء، لان لوحة الكهرباء قديمة جدا بقى تقريبا 60 سنة من عمر الكنيسة، فاصبحت بتسبب لنا مشاكل كتير، فهنبتدي نغيرها طبعا مع التغيير بتاع الحاجات. في حيطان هتتشال، وفي حاجات للاير كونديشن هتتبدل وهتتغير. المجاري طبعا ليها برضه بعض حاجات جديده مع الحمامات الجديده. فيعني عندنا مشروع كبير، لكن الحقيقه يعني we had a really nice contractor قال لنا ان الموضوع يخلص من 10 ل 12 اسبوع تقريبا. ف يعني عايزين نجو ahead as fast as possible. احنا اتفقنا احنا مش هنقدر نبتدي غير لما نجمع اتليست اكتر من نص المبلغ عشان نقدر نعرف نتحرك بعد كده. المطلوب الحقيقة 200 ألف. المبلغ مش كبير، لكن مع عدد الكنيسة مطلوب ان احنا بسرعة يا جماعة، كل اللي عنده يعني حاجة يقدر يديها للكنيسة، عشان املنا ان شاء الله نعيد مريمينا 24 نوفمبر نفتح الكنيسة مع التجديدات الجديدة، تبقى ان شاء الله تكون كورونا خلصت في الوقت ده، ونفتتح عيد مرمينا الثالث في الكنيسة واحنا فرحانين ومبسوطين، وفي نفس الوقت تبقى بركة كبيرة اننا يعني وضبنا الكنيسة، عملنا طبعا تغيير هيبقى بإضاءة الطرق وبياضها، في تفاصيل كتير طبعا مش هقدر اقولها في الاجتماع النهاردة، لكن على اي وضع قدامنا شغل كتير. من ناحية تانية احنا حاليا بنشتري خيمة تانية عشان تتحط نيكست دي، والستيج اللي بتتعمل يعني بنحاول نخلصها بأقصى سرعة. as soon as we're ready we'll let you know عشان نشوف السكادولينج بتاع القداسات هيكون شكلها ايه، وربنا يبارككم ويبارك كل عطاياكم، وان شاء الله على عيد مرمينا نخش كنيستنا الجديدة وهي واسعة وحلوة ومتوضبة لينا، وربنا يبارك كل عطاياكم. واللي يحب يتبرع بأي حاجة يعني هيبقى في ويب سايت كمان، وهيبقى في اونلاين دونيشن، لكن يحب يدي اي شيكات او يبعتها سواء ليا او لمدام اقبال او لريهام او لاي حد من اللجنه، مفيش مشكله خالص، بحيث ان احنا نجمع. عايزين يعني بكره الكونتراكتور جاي معايا المفروض علشان نفاينلايز كل حاجه معاه، فمحتاجين نبتدي ان شاء الله نجمع ويبقى عندنا فند ريزنج جامد بحيث بسرعه نبتدي نخلص الكنيسه بتاعتنا، وربنا يبارك في كل عطاياكم. بسم الله والابن والروح القدس إله الواحد آمين. Today we're gonna talk about conflicts between science and advancement of atheism. How science advanced atheism, although there is no contradiction between them. We have a list of a lot of, you know, scientists. They are all Christian and they all believe in God. But how this happened, let us, see the scenario. In that time, the main theme was science proof things, whereas religion depends on the authorization, imposition of its dogma, which fly in the face of evidence. To take the idea of God seriously is to commit intellectual suicide. Scientists are the Promethean liberators of humanity from their bondage to religious tradition and superstitions. What that mean؟ Promethean liberators دول. Promethean ده كان احد الجريك جادز، يعني اللي بيبص له ان هو الكرييتيف، ان هو كرييت بيبل وحاجات زي كده من الميثولوجي، الجريك ميثولوجي. فبيقولوا ان الساينس ده هو البروميثيان liberators، المحرر زي بتاع الجريك ده، اللي هيحرر الإنسانية من عبودية الدين والتقاليد والتراديشن والسوبرستيشس اللي هي الخرافات. ده كان المين theme in that time, when atheism, in the noon of atheism, on when the atheism became very strong. That was the things. Where this came from? Came from three incidents: Copernicus and John Calvin, Galileo Galilei and the Catholic Church, and then Darwinism. What happened? And I think I said this before, but we're gonna emphasize on this phenomenon. Church scientifically failed the nations or humanity in general in two incidents. Copernicus, came with the idea that sun is stationary, is not doing anywhere, is not rotate about itself. He is the center of the universe, at least in our solar system, and then all other planets is rotating around. John Calvin came, and he was a Protestant in that, of course, in that time he's one of the founders of the Protestant Church. He said no. And he got him some Psalms that it said when God fixed heaven. So he said nothing is rotating. And then, you just became a heretic. And he attacked him. And he was actually exposed to a really court in that time, and he could be killed unless there's someone of his friends was uh, in the religious was a religious figure in that time, so he saved him. Apparently Copernicus was not wrong, he was right. And so the people found out the church was mistaken. Second time came when Galileo Galilei, and he was also a student of Copernicus, he was telling us that Earth is a sphere and also confirmed the theory of Copernicus. And then the church would like, Catholic Church in that time would like to burn him alive. However, both of them were right and the church was wrong. So what happened? When these things start to develop in people's mind, they said science is the master. Church is just diving in superstitious and they don't know what they're talking about, and just put church aside and then move forward with science only. Then Darwinism came, and Darwinism came in 1809 to 1882, and Darwin had a problem with the church and with God because his daughter died, and then died in a very early age. I think it was 9 years old or something like that, and he was in love with her. And then in the day of the funeral, his wife begged him to go inside the church to attend the funeral. He refused to go inside, to step in the church just to attend the funeral of his daughter. And he looked to heaven and said, looked to God, and he said, you and I are enemies from today. And he was trying all his life, to prove this, theory of evolution. However, his assistant, I think, released his diary a few years ago, was released, and then he said his assistants told him, why you're just going after a mirage? This theory is just have a lot of voids and is not doesn't look right for you as a scientist. He said, you know what? If I spend my life for one purpose and one purpose only, that's it. And he told them, what is this purpose? He told them just to prove that the first seven chapters of Genesis is wrong. And that's my purpose in life. Even if I spend all my life, and he's in the end of his life, even he was going crazy, he was talking to himself, look spacious, he doesn't concentrate on anything because he was very overwhelmed with this theory. And then, of course, he died. When Darwin came and he got this bizarre theory about evolution and stuff, which is not scientifically proven till today, even people believed him because church failed people twice, and maybe the third time they said, don't check the church nose in this scientific matter, let the scientists talk, and they believe Darwinism blindly. Thomas Huxley in 1880 said, some 20 years ago or thereabout, I invented the word agnostic to denote people who, like myself, confess themselves to be hopelessly ignorant concerning a variety of matters about which metaphysicians and theologians, both orthodox and heterodox, dogmatize with utmost confidence. So he said, I invented this word agnostics, was inventing in 1880 by Thomas Huxley, and then he said just to define myself that we are hopelessly ignorant about this metaphysics, which means God, and that's all the theologians and religious people in Orthodox or Heterodox just dogmatize with utmost confidence. So he said, church and theologians are very confident about this, and I'm totally hopelessly say are we ignorant about this, and that's where the word agnostic mean. And we went in definition. Gnosis or gnostics mean knowledge. When you put a, it's a negation, so it's agnostic, it's no knowledge. So and as we said, the those people are divided in two categories. One of them, not knowledge that there's God or not, and the other thing, maybe God exists, but I don't know in which religion or how to define him or how to look at him from which religion. So Thomas Huxley was the father of agnosticism. Darwin became after that Einstein, Paley, and the watchmaker, and then Richard Dawkins. We went through landmark of science. Darwin, of course, that he denied how the creation started, and he said it's just a chemical reaction. Then Einstein came, and Einstein actually was very brave. He did a mistake about the creation, and he thought that the whole universe is eternal. And then he discovered that he was mistaken, and he admitted and he started to believe in God. But he also became, not sure. He was Jewish, but he said, I can't restrict God in Jewish people only, or Christians, or Muslim, or anything. So God is there is a designer. You can't call him God, but I'm not gonna put him in any religion. Paley and the watchmaker, Paley also came and he said he was. Some people said he was like a deist. That he said God is exist. He created the world, but he's like a watchmaker. He did the watch, and then pull the key for it, and then he left it later on, and it's worked by itself. And he is outside the world. He is not actually in the world. Although he proved that the creation was done by a designer, an intelligent designer. Of course, Richard Dawkins lately, he's still alive and he is a professor in England, and he is one of the very rigorous atheists that he attack Christianity, attack all religion, and make fun of them. And he is historically, and satirically just attacking all the religion. Friedrich Nietzsche, and this was in 1844, and he died in 1900, is also the father of the famous word, God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we, the murderers of all murderers, comfort ourselves? He was even confused, and that's from his book, The Madman in Gay Science, and page 125. God is dead. And he said, we killed him. We don't want to know him. And but how we can comfort ourselves, our murderers, how we can comfort ourselves. But in a way, he was happy that God is dead. When will all this shadow of God cease to darken our minds? When will we complete our deification of nature? He said, when all this shadow of God ceased to darken our mind, he thought the idea of God is darkened people's mind. And he said, when we're going to get rid of this, and when we will complete our deification of nature, that nature, glorify nature, and try to assume that it is the creator. Morality is not no longer defined with reference to God, but solely with reference to human needs and aspiration. That's his idea about morality. There's no moral code from God, and later on we will know why. Nietzsche, to the unknown God, he said something really, sad. That's from his book, The Magician. He said, "Though lightning shrouded one, oh my God, unknown one, speak. What wilt thou, unknown God, do come back with all thy tortures to the lost of all that are lonely? Oh, come back, and my heart's final flame flares up for thee. Oh, come back, my unknown God, my pain, my lost happiness." Thus spoke. That's his part four in Word Musician. So he's torn apart. He knows that there is God, but he looked at him and he said, he's an unknown to me. I'm ignorant about him. And he said he's a sort of his torture because he was a very bad sinful, and that he felt that God actually is, tortured his conscience. Uh, Time magazine wrote something when Karl Marx, and he's a father of communists, he said, God is dead, Marx is dead, and I'm not feeling too well either. And that's 1978 when Karl Marx died. And then it said that we are all going to die. So he said, if God is dead and Marx is dead, and I'm not feeling too well either because I'm going to die anyways. Well, in old atheism and the new atheism, let us see, the tone was critical, uh, mental thinking, scientific. The new atheism is shrill, just very harsh, and also not respectful. The genre, it's logical, here satirical. It's just more comical, and it's just make fun of religion. And in all the atheism, at least they were respectful. They are trying to put some logic in the idea of atheism. Of course, nowadays is not the way it is. Source of religion here is psychologically, here biologically. They try to prove that source of religion is something biological in a chemical of brain, and that's why this is not, it's not something really exists. Result of religion, philosophical errors, social evil. The new atheism said religion is a social evil. End of religion, only a short time. They thought, all the atheism religion is going to die soon. And in the new atheism, said it takes too long. It's taking too long. It should be done long ago. And end of religion. An afterlife, fruitless fantasy. Um, and in the new atheism, it said dangerous delusion. Place in culture, culture heretics, media star. So that we see the new atheism actually taking a route is more even trout, more strong, very aggressive, and it said, label religion and relate religion with evil. Of course, any incident happen, any killing, any problem happened in the name of Allah or God, it just came back and said, see, it's proved our point, religion is bad. What is the word view? How many atheists are there? Many Buddhists, of course, are atheists. Most secular humanists are atheists. All Marxists are atheists. 5% of American people are atheists. Of course, this may be getting worse. 30% of English are atheists. That's also changed a lot. Now more than 80%. 60% of are atheists. Of course, Swedish people became now almost 100% atheist. 80% of Russian are atheists. That's actually went down after communist fell apart. Here's a chart, and it said 32% of the world actually Christianity, 19% is Islam, Hinduism 13%, no religion 12, Chinese about 6, Buddhist 6, tribal religious 4%, atheism 2%, Judaism less than 1%, Shinto and others 11%. Of course, when you look at atheism, you can include Hinduism and Chinese and all others. So you're going to find more than 50% even in the world are atheist actually. If you put Islam and Christianity and Judaism, um, it's almost like 50%, and then more than 50% of the world are atheist, unfortunately. And that's put us in a role that we really need to start working on that because this is our fault. Almost half, 40% of it, as I said. What make an atheist an atheist? And this is something very important that you need to understand and realize when you talk to an atheist. The faith of the fatherless. What's that mean? Father is not exist. You understand that especially men take their father as their role models and they try to imitate their father and take father as a pride, that they look at him when the father is not exist. And also Freud said that last time I talked about this. He said we look to God through our father because we say our father who art in heaven. So when my father is bad, I automatically in subconscious assume God is always bad. I actually, this theory is very proven. I met in Egypt an atheist guy, and I was talking to him, and I told him, Habibi, I am like your father, and you're my son. And he told me, Abuna, stop it right there. And I told him, why? What did I say wrong? And he said, if you really want our relationship to continue, and you'd like me to love you as a friend, don't ever say again, ever again, you're like my father. I looked at him and I said, why? And he said, because I hate my father. I don't like him. He abandoned me. He's useless. He is this, and start to put all the name, related to his father. So he told me, if you really want to be my friend, I'd like to continue my relationship with you. Don't ever say, I'm your father. And I really stopped saying this to him. So that's, and he was, of course, not a believer of God. Atheist whose fathers died. David Hume, for example, was 2 years old when his father died. Arthur Schopenhauer was 16 when his father died. Uh, Friedrich Nietzsche was 40 years old when his father died. Bertrand Russell was 40 years old when his father died. John Paul Sartre was 15 months old when his father died. Albert Camus was 1 year old when his father died. So those people, even they grow up without a father figure to learn or deliver the faith for them. If I'm a father and I know God, my responsibility in a baptism even to deliver my faith to my son. If my father is not exist and the mother is not religious anyway, then definitely there's no faith delivered to them. Atheists with abusive or weak fathers, that's the problem when a lot of them will get abused, that they hated God through the hatred of their fathers. Thomas Hobbes, for example, was 7 years old when his father deserted the family, left the family. Voltaire had a bitter relationship with his father, whose surname Raoult. His father went to the court and denounced his family totally and changed the name. Baron Dolbach, that we talked about him last time, was estranged from his father and rejected his surname. He changed even his surname because he wouldn't like to label anything to his father. Ludwig Feuerbach, that we talked about to him last week too, was scandalized by his father's public rejection of his family to live with another woman. This guy, the father, went to the court, denounced his family publicly, and officially and escaped with another woman and left him with his mother with his brothers. Samuel Butler was physically and emotionally brutalized by his father. Sigmund Freud had a contempt of his father as a sexual pervert and as a weak man, and also his father used to beat him up bitterly to take him to the synagogue in Vienna, and he was Jewish. H.G. Wells despised his father who neglected the family. Madeleine Murray O'Hare, this is lady that um, she had a Supreme Court case in the late 60s or beginning of 70s, something like that. I don't remember the date. And she banned prayer from school in America. Intentionally hated her father, probably due to child abuse. And ironically, her son became a very good Christian, and he has a very, very nice book. I encourage you to read it, called My Life Without God, and explain how life is miserably bad during the time when he lived with her and she was an atheist. She ran into Soviet Union in that time, in a time when America had the Cold War with Soviet Union, and asked them for asylum in Russia. And Russia at that time thought she's a spy. She rejected her asylum case and she turned back to London, stayed there till finally the State Department here forgive her and admit her again in the United States. And she had this case against United States in the Supreme Court and banned prayer from school. He had a problem with her father. She hated her father probably for sexual abuse. Immorality play a very big role in those atheists. As we said last time, a lot of them actually they would like to have pleasure in life. They would like just to do whatever, and they feel God is just controlling their desire, and that's why they deny God just to feel better. um, as we know psychologically, the more we got um, you know we less freedom in our life and we got slave to sin and addiction, our ego became more inflated. And those people, their character full of ego all the time, those atheists, and they always feel they are better than God. In their secret life, they were totally addicted to bad stuff that we gonna see now. The more we liberate, the less ego, the more we have violation, that we became more egoistic. Karl Marx, for example, fearlessly anti Semitic, egocentric, slothful, and lecherous, exploitive of friends, and unfaithful to his wife, served an illegitimate son and who is refused to acknowledge. He was also very bad in desire. Lectures mean he has a lot of sexual desire, shahwani yani, exploitive of his friend, use his friend, and unfaithful to his wife. Was a father of a legitimate son who he's refused even to acknowledge, and very egocentric, slothful. He doesn't want to work. He just would like to use people to take money, and he also anti-Semitic. Henrik Ibsen, a vain, spiteful, and heartless man, caring only for money, an exploiter of women, and contemptuous of the needy, even among his own family. Um Jean Jacques Rousseau, intensely vain and wildly irresponsible, sired five illegitimate children and abandoned them to orphanage, which in his social context meant almost certain early death. So he was has five illegitimate kids, and it ended up put them in a like orphanage. And in that time, there's no care for the children in orphanage, so that's mean they get for early death. Percy Pichicelli, that's a chronic swindler with a voracious temper, and also an adulterer who, with the three different women, fathered seven children, whom he basically ignored, including one he abandoned to an orphanage where the baby died at 18 months. Lev Tolstoy, or called Lev Tolstoy, megalomaniacal and misogynistic, a chronic gambler, an adulterer, a seducer of women, and contemptuous of his wife. Uh, Misogynistic means he has a lot of hatred to women, tried to use them sexually, but he hated them. And megalomaniacal that he is need to show off and buy expensive stuff when we even though we don't have money. Ernest Hemingway, for example, ironically named, given that he was pathological liar and a misogynistic womanizer too, and self-destructive alcoholic. Bertrand Russell, misogynistic too. All of them hate women. I don't know why. Maybe that's the reason they became atheists. And a serial adulterer, a chronic seducer of women, especially very young women, even in his old age. That in the end of his age, actually, Bertrand Russell said, "The only thing I regret not doing when I was young that I didn't commit suicide." And they asked him what happened when you reached the top. He said there is nothing. He was very depressed, and when he was dying, he felt you know, really, really frantic about his death, and he was so afraid to die. Jean Paul Sartre, for example, notorious for his sexual escapades and with female student, often procured by his college and lover Simone de Beauvoir. Um, the will to disbelieve, and that's another thing. Oh, those people, do you think they really don't believe in God? No, they refuse. That's why we said atheism is not an intellectual, but it's a disbelief. For example, like Paul in Romans said, for that they exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and they worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Huxley, for example, that he became the father of the term agnostic, he said, we don't know because we don't want to know. It's our will that decide how and upon what subject we shall use our intelligence. So here he don't want to know because he said we don't know because we don't want to know. So that's will. I'm refusing even to know if there's God or not. Thomas Nagel, for example, is something very, very vigorous. He said, I want atheism to be true. It isn't just that I don't believe in God and naturally hope that I'm right about my belief. It is that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. He said, I don't want to be God exist anywhere. Even he said, just I hope I'm right, but he said, I don't want even to feel that there is a God, and I hope there is no God. Taban, we stop here because the absurdity of life without God, that's another big topic. And maybe we can get into it next time to finish this call. But I would like to comment about this quickly that you should know now there's a problem, a personal problem with atheists. Why reason I exposed this to you guys? Those atheists have a problem, a personal problem. Either they are look to God in a different point of view and look to God in a very bad way through their fathers. Most likely, they had a problem with the father figure in home. That's why they hated God. The other thing, and most likely, they have a personal problem, either abused. Some of them actually lately they are homosexuals, and they feel God actually is banned them from being like that, and some of them even feel that God is restrict my freedom. Why God should tell me do or not to do? It's better for me just to deny God altogether and say He's not exist, so I feel better about myself. And this is the problem. That when you talk to an atheist, you have to understand not to win an argument. Try to correct the image of God in his mind, try to cure his bitterness against God. Some of them are mad at God for other reasons, like, for example, tragedies. And maybe we can discuss that in pain and suffering episode after I finish this, because it's a very strong one in the world. Why pain and suffering? Why we have to suffer? Why we have, I go to the tragedy, if this tragedy exists and God is not. So a lot of people, they have a very personal issues, and as we knew now from their word, it is not an intellectual, it's a will. I don't want to know. And then they said, even if you try to reach them, no, I don't. I just hate the idea, of, you know, um, I hate the idea for them to be exist. And maybe we also the movies God is Not Dead. There are three volumes of them now. I really encourage you to see them. They are all in YouTube, and a lot of them is free even. So and they answered a lot of all these questions. So that's the thing that we need to understand. Atheism actually, it's a will, is not an intellectual, because the Bible said even the ignorance said in his heart there's no God. As I said, and I always say that, I was expecting for that, for the psalm to say, the ignorant said in his mind there's no God, but no, he said in this heart. That's mean a form of emotions or will, that I don't want to know God. It's not a matter of intellectual, that I try to reason God in my mind to see if he's rational or he makes sense or he doesn't. So that's why we need to understand there's a story behind every atheist, a very personal story. And this personal may be a tragedy, maybe a misunderstanding, being mistreated from the church itself, maybe bad experience with any religious figure, as well. Anything can cause a problem. When you reach an atheist, try to identify why he became an atheist. What is the personal reason in a very friendly and loving manner? And then when you do this, you will see the key how to cure his bitterness. Maybe he just need a hug. Maybe he need help. Maybe you need to show him God's love in you and make him, aware there is such a thing called God's love. And I'm here, a tool to see God's love through me. And that's probably the most effective way with atheists, more than lectures, more than just rebuking them or label them that they are bad, they don't see the light, they're going to go burn in hell. All this kind of terminology is not going to bring an atheist a believer. This definitely make the atheist more atheist and be more rigid to believe and to come to God. That's why uh, we tonight we exposed to a lot of reasons. Try to analyze them and see even and apply them if you find somebody is really not a believer of God. I'm open now to any comments or any questions. Go ahead.
Yes, Abuna.
Go ahead.
And I think this is escapism, actually. They escape the conditions that imposed by religion to do and control their doing. So it's irrational escapism from their behavior. The second thing is they don't like to be controlled. And then they can justify their action through one of them I met in Britain. He accuses God of being not fair. And this is a thing. You can associate actions of God in the Old Testament, for example, that too much cruel as picturized by Satan in their head. So this makes them escape the rule of God, escape God altogether, because the image of God in their mind that they does not fit with their perfectionist. So they try to search for perfectionists. So I think one of the good approaches, because they are perfectionists in their mind, they wanted to arrive to justify their actions, but they don't know the mercy of God at all, and they don't have the good image of God that is merciful and kind and promising a better life for the eternal life for future. So it's like a confused situation while they are doing their action, justifying whatever they do. And I think within the church, we made a finding that the lies and liars are in a form or some form, although this is only a sin, but they are somehow don't believe as well in God as Hanani and Safira, for example.
Okay.
So
their life is not perfectionist at all. They're not perfectionist in their life. Their life actually full of sins and full of addiction and full of gambling. A lot of they're not perfect. In a matter of
Yeah,
fact, they would drug just to cover their sins, as you said, as escape. You know, you know, any sin make the person uncomfortable. Make my conscience is really, annoying me. So, what the good way to calm my conscience? There's no God. So when I said there's no God, my conscience is calm because I don't need to somebody to remind me with my own sin, with my own bad things. So that's exactly what's the reason. Uh, who else wants to comment?
Yeah, أستاذ بنا, I want to just reference لقدسك ذكرت the movie um, God is not dead. I
Right.
watched the movie and actually it was excellent way to explain to someone that God is existing. So I was going to say maybe this is can be a tool that we can use when we try to reach our young people, the new generation. Sometimes the movie and documents and stuff like that appeal to them more than lecturing.
Mhm.
So I was just going to say that if any time it's okay, you are aware of something coming up in theater or Netflix or whatever that address those issues, we may use it for ourselves first and also for the young people, maybe on an open day, or actually we recommended to the parents to watch with the parents or something. Because I think one of those movies really are like God is not dead is excellent way to explain the existence of God.
Absolutely, and I keep crying about the site which is called Pure Flix. You guys, I almost daily watch when I'm working. I put like the app next to me in the TV and look or following up a movie. There are have a selection of a very good Christian movies uh, about the story of prodigal son, for example, in a new ideas. Also, they have the documentary movie about the Kiss for Christ by Lee Strobel, and they have the actual interview with people, and a lot of other, movies, and they put in the scenario a lot of apologetic questions like God exists, the Bible, other things in life, and how they answer it in a very practical way or see the consequences for doing the wrong things. I really strongly, agree, encourage all of you to be a subscriber. We need also to support this site because it's a very good avenue for our kids to watch clean movies without bad words, without bad scenery, without bad ideas, or it's really, really very good, positive. It's called Pure Flix, one word, Pureflix, Flix, .com, and I think it's like $12 a month or something, and you can watch unlimited movie, and they have a lot of even got secular movie, but have a Christian ideas. I really encourage you to go and flip. The other day, as I said, there is a movie about the perfect wave and the one who went to heaven and met God and came back, and it's a real story. And they have a lot of real story, real event. They have a very good story also about abortion and things happened. It answers a lot of questions in nowadays. So we need to support them, and we need to watch this to learn from it. I personally learn a lot from watching, a real story happen. Of course, they have the whole series of God is Not Dead. The three series exist there and other things. So I encourage you really, really to go and subscribe and become part of this. We need to encourage them and support them, and also we gonna get the benefit. So it's a mutual benefit for all of us. Any other questions or comments? Anybody would like to say anything? Please do. Okay, anyways, as I said, we're gonna update you with the church services very soon. And also, we need to start the fundraising procedures for process for the new extension. And as I said, we need to start. It's $200,000. We need to really start the fundraising as soon as we can. And God bless you all. And inshallah, we'll see you Saturday night. I'm not sure if we're going to have a meeting or not because I think we're going to have the Abuna Dawood Lamai starting tomorrow, his conventions, and I think we're going to have lecture from Abuna Dawood Lamai in that time. So we have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I think, and I believe even Monday they have one lecture. So all the schedule, I put it in Telegram for people and how to register and how to get benefits. So it'd be a good idea if we all go and listen to Abuna Dawood's convention. Is going to be really nice. God bless you all, and we update you, inshallah. Bye.